Wrestling with a Bear podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wrestling with a Bear podcast. I am joined with the Bear of Texas himself, Alex Alcazaz, today. And usually we are joined by my former tag team partner, former professional wrestler, John Punn. But he is on vacation with his family in the UK. So we didn't have a show last week. He's not going to join us this week. Let him enjoy his vacation. Bear man, we have stuff to talk about today. Even though we don't have a guest, we usually have a guest. We don't have any guests lined up today. We do have some interesting stuff to talk about today. Just a brief rundown of stuff we're going to talk about. We have Ric Flair's last match. We're going to talk about that event promoted by the Jim Crockett
Woo!
Promotion. Woo! We also,
I couldn't resist. Sorry.
it's all good, baby. It is Wrestling with a Bear. We are live. We're having fun today. We're also going to talk about Ring of Honor, um, their event coming up this weekend. Okay, we're going to talk about some news that actually just broke before we got on the air about Vince McMahon. But and we're going to talk about Triple H's new role, which was recently announced as well. But Bearman, how are you doing? How's your week been?
Well, it's been quite an adventure. I mean, that's pretty much my life. And I'm pretty sure everybody's kind of wondering where I've been. I'm sure y'all saw the announcement. I'm making a big change in life. I would like to announce, though, I've cut my unhealthy habit of doing nonstop podcast work for 6 days straight without sleeping. Those days are finished. And I feel horrible that I waited so long. I was too stubborn to realize that. But you know what? I'm just glad I finally did it. And Chris, I know that when I messaged you what happened,
That was my
that was finally
that
what
was
I
my reaction,
yeah.
man. When I seen what you were going through, what did I tell you? Yo, take the week off. Take the week off.
Yeah.
Don't I don't need you. I need you to get healthy. And I'm glad you took those steps because it really is. You don't realize, like you said, you didn't realize until you started becoming healthier how bad that was for you.
How
You're
horrible,
constantly
yeah.
working. You're not thinking about why you need sleep. Your sleep is that energy, man. Like without that sleep, you're not even functioning right. You're making mistakes that you didn't realize you. I did it before, bro, where I was up getting ready for shows, for podcasts, like all day and all night, um, preparing graphics. I mean, there was a point where I got burnt out, and I just couldn't. It, it just messes with your mind and your body more than you think. And I'm glad you got healthy, man, and you're not pushing yourself
I'm glad I
like
did.
you are. You have a hustle. It's good to have a hustler's drive, but you gotta know when to say, hey, it's me time. You know, even if you're not, even
It's
if
me
you're
time,
not,
yeah.
I'm not saying sleep all day, but you have to have that me time. And be like, let me go out and do something other
Yeah.
than work. Work can wait.
And speaking out of going out do things, I've been going to several Texas indie shows, and I'm glad that we'll be able to talk about that later. But I gotta stress the fact: look, if you have a friend, y'all, and then he has a podcast and he pleads for your help, don't blow it off. Okay? For guys like me, podcasting is my livelihood because it's the only way I can actually do journalism correctly now. I don't want to get political or anything, but podcasting is the future, especially in my expertise in journalism. So please, if you're gonna say you're gonna subscribe and share it out, please be a person of your word. Don't blow that off because that really affects us deeply. Your support is greatly appreciated, especially with Wrestling with a Bear. Thank you.
Thank you for that. That was well put, Bear Man. We're going to talk about our first topic today, and that is Triple H's new role. 100%, man. Um,
That steroid scandal, that thing was
he beat that, but
more.
uh, it's gonna be something to see, to see how everything
Yeah.
truly breaks down. And
And everyone wants my thoughts. Like, guys, look, whatever Vince allegedly did, it's alleged. I was not there. Whatever the repercussions, if Vince needs to be punished accordingly, then fine. I mean, then that's all I'll be able to say. I mean, again, these are alleged. We don't know what truly went on. I mean, I recently learned that apparently he and his wife Linda have been separated for a long time. I was not aware of that until just recently. And of course, Jim Cornette has spoken about this on his show. He says that I think it's because of the company value for company reasons that they have not officially been divorced. I don't know.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking maybe they were been separated for some time, and it's like you said, there's no divorce or nothing legal, really, because of the company.
Yeah.
They
So
don't want anything to happen with the company.
yeah. So
I don't know a lot of couples that do that.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, because I'm telling you, there's so much that came into fruition about this whole thing. Like you learn about these things, but more and more and more stuff, keep coming out. Like at first, it started with one former employee, right? Now, how many former employees have claimed about having some sort of affair with Vince?
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
it. I really can't
it's
speak.
literally a hellgate that's
I've
gotten
heard
loose.
things, I've heard things like most people have, but uh, really, there's nothing illegal about that. You know,
I mean, if he was separated in that
I know,
time, then
I
yeah,
know, I know that comes off that's something that you say these days and that can get you canceled. But I don't, I'm just saying, like, there's nothing illegal. If cheating was illegal, then half the world would be in jail, right?
yeah. I mean, it's wrong because especially it's the
Is it
sacred vow
morally
in
wrong?
marriage. But
Is it
yeah,
morally
yeah, it's
wrong?
morally
Yes,
wrong. Yeah,
yes.
but again, I mean,
What the case
whatever
is about,
Vince, yeah,
what the case is about is where the money came from. If it was
yeah,
personally out of his pocket, again, and he made her sign a non-disclosure, okay, whatever,
yeah,
to hush up about an affair and a relationship or whatever. Um, but it's like there's nothing illegal about that unless it came out of the company's money. And that's where kind of John Laurinaitis comes in and it's like, okay, did this come out of company money? And if it did, then yes, that's illegal.
yeah. That's why yeah, that's why all these things. I mean, these are what we are told. I mean, again, I mean, this is just we can only go so far from our perspective. Like again, we don't know what Vince does in his personal time.
Yeah.
Then again, you ask yourself, does he even ever get personal time? I mean,
Apparently, he has time to have sex. Yeah.
I mean, he goes to the gym. I mean, I guess he utilizes his precious personal time, to take care of himself. But again, I mean, so whatever comes out of it, if Vince gets punished, it must be accordingly. It must, with whatever how the case goes. But again, whatever happens, happens. That's all I can say, really. That's the way to close it. Whatever happens, happens.
Well, we got a couple people in the chat right now. We have Stephen Wald that says hi bear man. And we
How you
have
doing, Steve?
James Holder, crazy news but good news.
James Solder, a guy I've known for a long time, a strong wrestling fan right there.
Shout out to James and shout out to Stephen. Hope you guys are enjoying the show so far. Because up next, we're going to have some Ring of Honor talk. We're going to talk Ring of
Hell
Honor.
yes.
But before we get to that, Bearman, you have been experiencing independent wrestling, which I love. I love that you've now taken like that one experience of indie wrestling and you've turned it into supporting in independent wrestling and supporting professional wrestling. Like we always close the show out with,
Big time.
you supported professional wrestling and you live in Texas, and obviously I can't go to Texas. Most people, probably that don't live in Texas don't go to Texas. Tell us about the Texas independent wrestling scene. and shows that you've been to?
Beyond the word unique, I mean, you go to a show in Texas with certain expectations, but you don't get what you expect, but not in a bad way. You get more than you could have ever imagined. And that's why I'm just so beyond grateful. I mean, VIP Wrestling, Pele Pro Wrestling, the DFW All Pro Wrestling. I mean, with Pele Pro Wrestling, the owner, Kyle Hessler, he and I are quite close. And I've befriended several wrestlers that I'm really close with. I mean, I'm really just kind of almost kind of being in part of the wrestling family because I'm always buying tickets. I'm always keeping my promise. I'll be at the show. I'll be there. I've bought in gear to help out the wrestlers too, despite my personal financial struggles. Like, I've basically done everything I can and beyond more than I can do to help out the wrestling business because at the end of the day, it's a promise I've made to the wrestlers and the promoters themselves, but it's a vow that I made to myself. Especially when we were in Florida. When I learned it, I told you I was hooked, and now we know that I was not exaggerating.
Uh, I love it. I love that. Like I said, you took that experience and you supported wrestling. Now, who are some of the people that have popped you at shows? Who are some of the people that the wrestlers that have caught your eyes? Who are some of the wrestlers that you bought merch from? This is like let's put some Texas wrestlers over. Let's tell the people who to watch, who to look out for. Maybe you'll see them on your television soon.
Well, for one, is these two people are very close friends. One of them would be Killa Kate. She's a very unique and maybe a submission expert. Just a brilliant talent that you see in the ring. Like she really puts on the hell of a match. I mean, she's tough as hell. I'll tell you that. And she's a close friend. And another one is Chandler Hopkins, who and I are very close. His signature move, the shooting star press, he does it so great. His character, the young gun, basically, him being from Amarillo, Texas. I mean, now we got a new pride from Amarillo. So back then, we got Terry Funk, but then we got the other new cowboy. We got Chandler Hopkins, just to name a few. And there's just so many. I mean, in Texas and wrestling in Texas, I mean, it's always been popular. People always forget, like, no, back in the 80s, especially in DFW where I'm at, I mean, the Von Erichs, started all that popularity. I mean, I'm not sure who was there before them, but I kind of feel like Texas wrestling has kind of basically kept the tradition going, and it's a tradition and a reputation that was started by Fritz Von Erich's promotion, which was World Class Championship Wrestling.
Yeah, Texas has always been like a hotbed for wrestling, and even
It
like
has.
and I agree with you that people kind of forgot about Texas, and now it's like kind of back on the rise. Uh, but there's always been talent in Texas. Like Texas has been like a staple for professional wrestling. You got New York, you have Atlanta, you got
Florida,
yeah, you got Florida, you have the Carolinas, you got
California.
yeah, you got Minnesota. I mean, you have Texas. Like Texas has always been there, and Texas has always been one of the popular wrestling states. Where
Mm-hmm.
there's always wrestling going on, and it's not like wrestling hasn't been. It's not like there was a drought of wrestling in Texas. It's always been there, but people just weren't paying attention. And now these talents are like, no, you're gonna pay attention now. You're gonna see it.
They're giving you the reason. Killa Kate, Chandler Hopkins, Corey O'Neill, who I feel bad I could have mentioned already, but there's just so many of them. I'll be honest. Nastico, who's a great heel manager, and same few. Shane Taylor. They're giving you the reasons to pay attention. Like,
Yeah,
because that's what wrestlers have to do. They got to give you those reasons, and those wrestlers: Killa Kate, Corey O'Neill, Chandler Hopkins, Shane Taylor. Uh, you know,
and then you
Exodus
you
Prime.
got
I mean, I'm telling you, I mean, there's just so many names. I can't remember them all,
Brian
dude.
Keith, Bounty Hunter Brian Keith. He is
Brian Keith, yeah.
Oh man, he is putting he
Exactly,
I
yeah.
think he is like one of those talents that is putting Texas on the map. Like he's
Or Justin Taylor
yeah.
as well.
New Texas Pro Wrestling, like you said, Pele Pro Wrestling,
DFW All
DFW
Pro.
yeah, DFW All Pro. Uh the
VIP
VIP
wrestling, yeah.
wrestling is another promotion. Yeah, I mean they're now like finally getting their shine on, and it's good because I've always wanted to go to Texas. So, at least I know like there's places to go, and
I
there's
mean,
people.
and Casey Navarro is actually appearing next week at VIP Wrestling.
Oh, see, and that's another thing is if you look at their flyers and you watch their shows, uh you see
I've
the
actually got
talent.
several VIP matches right here in front of me. I've actually got a couple of notes of a few matches for next week.
They have their flyers, they and their talent that they bring in is from all over the place, but their main attraction is is their Texas stars. You know,
Big time.
they have a
I
nice.
mean, Bo Amir, who's basically recently started. Bo Amir. I started talking to him, and I saw him at Pele Pro. He's one of the clients of NASDAQ. I mean, the dude is amazing.
100%. So you said you have a lineup of matches for next week. Well,
Mm-hmm.
why don't you spin them off to us?
Well, we got Brian Cage teaming with Casey Navarro and Chandler Hopkins versus Gino Medina, I believe. And then we got Chris Cruz and Nathan Bradley in a six-man tag match. Shane Taylor will actually be going against a mystery opponent for the VIP championship. We actually got two championship matches. We got that one. We also got the VIP Tag Team Championship, Fly Death versus the Russell Twins. Definitely looking forward to that. Some tag team action. We got the DFW All Pro Championship, Eddie Martinez versus Kari Wright, who's one of Nastico's clients.
Hmm.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Nastico got involved. That's what he does. I mean, Nastico. I mean, look, he does his job to the best of his ability, and he's just really good at his job. I mean, just like me, you piss people off as the heel, you're doing your job, right? But
All right.
because I'm close to Nastico, everybody, all these fans ask you what's he really like, and I'm just like, he's Nastico. That's all I say. He's Nastico.
Now this weekend we also have Ring of Honor, return of Ring of Honor with Death Before Dishonor with their latest pay-per-view. The Now before we get into the match card and going through the matches, I just want to say when Tony Khan bought Ring of Honor, we talked about how we didn't want to see certain things happen, and those certain things wound up happening. And it's kind of like we didn't know where Ring of Honor was going to go from because on the last show they had during WrestleMania weekend, on our next show, we talked about it where it didn't feel like a Ring of Honor show. It didn't look like a Ring of, it didn't have that the feel, the matches, what happened. And this card here for Death Before Dishonor, I think is more of a Ring of Honor style card, and it feels more Ring of Honor. And
It does. I mean, especially because we have Claudio. Claudio is Claudio, formerly known as
yeah,
Cesaro, who's
see,
a Ring of Honor guy.
they're using
Yeah.
AEW, the AEW talent, but now this is looking more like what me, you, and Pun were talking about we
Yeah.
wanted it to look like. So we're gonna go through the card here. Uh,
Well, just one thing though, are you actually intrigued that even though these are AEW talents,
So before Death Before Dishonor, there was a media scrum, and they talked about the Briscoes. And Khan said, the Briscoes are a great example. The Briscoes are under contract with Ring of Honor and a long-term contract. And I think there are some other developmental wrestlers, but really probably the biggest names that are exclusively signed to Ring of Honor are the Briscoes, and they are some of the biggest names in Ring of Honor history. They are Hall of Famers, and there are some others, but I think that would be a good example of a key factor where they haven't really appeared in AEW, but they are signed to Ring of Honor. Having the Briscoes in Ring of Honor, I think, brings those Ring of Honor fans back that didn't know where this was
Oh,
gonna go.
big time,
I think it kind of
big
gives
time.
faith now into it. Like, okay, we have a little bit of faith in it now. The next match that we're going to talk about is Samoa Joe versus Jay Lethal for the Ring of Honor World TV Championship. This says Ring of Honor written all over it. Like,
I love this thing. Like they got the. I like how some of these companies have the World Television Championship. I mean, the,
100% Bear Man, and you can catch Ring of Honor Death Before Dishonor, like I said, this Saturday, July 23rd, live on pay-per-view and Fight TV and pay-per-view.com for international fans, and Bleacher Report as well for $39.99 live from Lowell, Massachusetts. Again, this is shaping up to be a Ring of Honor show. You know, it feels like a Ring of Honor show, and I hope it turns out to be a success because it's a banger of a card. I'm just gonna be honest.
it's got that nostalgic potential.
Yes, it does. Now we're gonna talk about another show coming up that's pretty big, pretty big. You know what that is, Bearman? It's
Oh, I think I do.
it's
Ric Flair's last match.
Ric Flair's last match.
I mean, let me just say right off the top, studying the card, that card truly is styling and profiling.
Woo!
I mean, this card. I mean, I'm just like, I mean, we got the teams from today. We got several from back in the day. I mean, this whole the whole concept of this show. You know what it's meant to give the fans of today, Chris?
That old school vibe, that old school
That
feeling.
old school vibe.
Yeah.
Yes, because we got the Von Erichs of today. We got, may I please, the Von Erichs, Ross and Marshall Von Erich, which is their Kevin's son, the son that's that's still alive. The whole thing is sad. It breaks my heart. They're going against the Briscoes, so that's exciting.
Yeah. Well, we're
The
gonna we're
the
gonna we're
Rock.
gonna break down the card now.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right.
I mean,
Let
I had
me.
to get that because when I met the Von Erichs. the I spoke well we spoke about an original plan before the show before we recorded about the main event, but here's one that I didn't actually talk about. The original planned main event, Chris, was reported to have been Ric Flair teaming with FTR to take on Ricky Steamboat and the Rock and Roll Express.
Yes. Yeah.
I guess it didn't happen because Steamboat just didn't want to do it. He turned it down. I guess that's why it was scrapped.
Yeah. I mean, that would have been a nice throwback match. That would have been a nice little nostalgia. That's what the show is about nostalgia and Ric Flair's retire. And I think, and Starcast is producing the show. They're doing a whole event based around it with Jim Crockett Promotions, and it's funny to say that in 2022, Jim Crockett Promotions. But a who's who of wrestling is gonna be there for the conventions and all the events going on around Ric Flair's retirement. I mean Miro.
Bully Ray is working too. That's interesting.
Yeah, Bubba Ray's gonna be in the. Oh yeah, another match we forgot to mention, the Bunkhouse Brawl. I think they're having a Rumble. A lot of town's going to be in that. Bubba Ray, I seen that earlier, and I was like, "Whoa, okay, that's interesting." Who's who?
And
Who
James Storm
Flair
too.
man? Who doesn't want to be a part of that?
I mean,
Who? If you
Yeah,
got the
exactly.
call,
I mean,
who doesn't want to be? Besides Ricky Steamboat, who doesn't want to be a part of that?
exactly. Well, I mean, I don't know why Ricky Steamboat said no. I mean, what for whatever reason, but yeah, who doesn't want to be there?
Ric Flair said that Charlotte probably wouldn't miss it for the world, and she's going to be there. It may not be on camera, but I mean, I would think she would be there for her father's last match.
Yeah, I mean, she can't
She was
obviously
there
she can't work because she can't work the show because of
to her
because she's with
contract,
WWE. But
and I'm sure Triple H or Stephanie would not mind if she's shown on camera. I mean, it's Ric Flair. The
yeah,
relationship with Ric Flair is, I don't think they would mind.
I mean,
So, not to wrestle, but like if she happens to be shown on camera. I mean, that's Ric Flair's daughter.
it's Ric
She's not
Flair's
going to be
daughter.
there,
Yeah,
you know? Like,
yeah, it wouldn't make any sense. Look, we talk about old school. I mean, check this out. The Rock and Roll Express, Ricky Morton teaming up with Kerry, and Kerry's his son, right?
yes,
So you
Kerry
got
yeah.
Rock and Roll Express versus the Four Horsemen, Brian Pillman Jr. and Brock Anderson, who's Arn's son. I mean, look at that. You
Brian
got
Pillman's son,
original
I
member
mean,
versus like that. Look at
I
that.
mean, this is I want another show I want to see. It's crazy. A whole show is based around with Flair's last match. Jimmy Crockett Promotions. Uh, it's gonna be crazy. And again, Who's Who of Wrestling is gonna be there. They changed venues because they needed a bigger venue.
Yeah. I
They
mean,
did.
it's just so interesting. You got Robert Gibson, who's going to be at the side of the Rock and Roll Express. You got Arn Anderson, on the side of the Four Horsemen. I mean, some would say, wouldn't it be better if it was James J. Dillon? But if Arn Anderson's son's working the match, it makes sense to have Arn at their side.
100%.
Although I do have a question though for you, Chris. In this particular concept, would Brian Pillman Jr. and Brock Anderson be villains, or is this kind of like just one of these matches where they're like that? I mean,
I really don't. Because I think it's just a show.
yeah.
And I don't mean that in a bad way where it's just a show. No, it's just to show
Just to give the fans
nostalgia.
something to be excited
Yeah,
about. Something like,
exactly.
yeah, okay. I mean,
It's like boxing, right? You look
yeah,
forward to the Holyfield fight. You look forward to the Tyson fight, right? But there's a card before that. You know, there's
yeah,
a card.
exactly. But man, how could you not want to be there? I mean, it's a
That
blessing to see a three-way match for the Impact Knockouts World Championship.
Bro, that's really all the topics we have to talk about. They were some pretty newsworthy topics, and I hope all of you guys enjoyed the show. If you want to support Wrestling with a Bear, you can get our merchandise at whatamaneuver.com. Or is it .net, bearman.com? I'm sorry, I don't even know. Uh,
Whatamaneuver.net.
whatamaneuver.net. See that you word about fucking it up. You
Well,
can get our
you're
merchandise.
just excited, Chris. You're just excited, brother.
Whatamaneuver.net. You look for our shop, Wrestling with a Bear. We have our Lucha Bear logo and Bearman's exclusive t-shirt, The Truth, the Whole Truth, and Nothing But the Truth. Uh, Go and cop those. You can help support us. Give us some monies to help support the podcast, help support us. Um, be, uh, you can find me personally at Rex Wrestles on all social media platforms. That's REX Wrestles. You can find Wrestling with a Bear on Facebook and on Twitter at Rest with a Bear, WRES with a Bear. Bearman, where can they find you?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Bearman of Texas, just TX, no need to spell it out. And you can also find me on Instagram. It's just the Bear of Texas, just TX, also don't need to spell it out. I'm active on social media, folks. If you want to follow me, I truly appreciate it. You guys are awesome. But again, that's all the time we have. And on behalf of Wrestling with a Bear, we are so grateful that you can join us. In the meantime, be excellent to each other, and please keep supporting professional wrestling.